Welcome to Chayil Conversations, and I'm excited to be here. And the topic tonight is how to ignite your brilliance. Yes, there is a brilliant you that needs to be ignited. Remember to share, remember to like us, remember to subscribe, because this is a conversation and we need you to spread the news, because people are being encouraged. There's so many powerful conversations we have had that it gives us hope, it gives us solutions, and it tells us that God is greater. And so tonight we're going to boast in God. And this beautiful lady with us is Samantha. And what a testimony as we talk about igniting your brilliance. You know, the Bible says we're made in the image of God and we're made in the likeness of God. And we're talking about every human being. So you can imagine how evil it is when someone finds themselves in relationships that undermine them, demean them, and even if they're brilliant, can make them feel stupid. That's how powerful persuasion is and vain imagination is. And Samantha is here to give God glory tonight. And Samantha, tell me about your childhood. Where were you born, and what was your childhood like?
So I grew up in Jamaica. I had a loving family. It was a secure home. I lived with my grandparents, my mom, help, and in that home it was just love. It was a Christian home as well. Church and God was the center, and yeah.
Wow. And was a wealthy family or a poor family?
Yes, it was a wealthy family. I never lacked of anything, and I was well taken care of.
So you had the maids and the gardeners,
yes,
and all of that.
Yes.
And so you went to boarding school, and then
yes.
and then how many years were you in boarding school?
I was at boarding school for about 8 years. I started at 9 and I continued through the boarding school until I got to 17 after I graduated from high school.
So when you graduated from high school, then was that when you left Jamaica then?
That's right. I left from Jamaica at that time and came to Canada.
Wow. And then was it Canada that you did your university?
Yes.
And what did you study and do in university?
So I did an undergraduate in psychology. I got an honors BA. After that, I completed a postgraduate program in human resources management, and then I went on to work in that field.
Yes, and you were very good in that field. I
yes.
mean, you were doing you were telling me that when you went to work and you were working there, they were saying, wow, the work that you do is like a work of 3 people.
Yes,
right?
Actually, sorry to cut you back there. It was after I left, they hired 3 people to do the job.
Wow.
And I was there on my own. Yes.
So she's not only brilliant, but she is powerful. So then we need to figure out how a brilliant girl, powerful girl with a bachelor's of degree, doing the work of 3 people, outstanding in the workplace, honored in the workplace, psychology, human resources, and yet there was a time in your life when you were undermined to the point where you couldn't even complete a sentence because you thought you were losing it.
Yes.
What happened in your life for that switch where you grew from stability and security into feeling stupid and that I can't think, I can't even speak? What happened?
So I would say it's a combination of things. So first, it was the relationship I was in. And just you continue hearing something over and over, you start believing it. And if you don't know who you are, it's really easy for that person to just tell you anything and for you to believe in those lines.
And that relationship was with a boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And he would do what?
So it was, he was very demanding. It's always his way, no way at all. He doesn't take no for an answer. He was very obsessive, so cut off from all your friends. You always have to be speaking with him. When you leave the house, it's with him. So that kind of puts you in that needy place as well, where you're constantly going back to him. And he was very, you never know where you stand in that relationship. So 1 minute you're okay and everything is fine, and then just in an instant, out of nowhere, it just flips. You're being bullied, you're being belittled, And
Wow. So we're talking now because you did a psychology. So you have a psychology background, eh? So we're talking about mental abuse then.
yes,
Where you know and mental abuse, you will be kept just nice enough, but then the abuse would start. So then all of a sudden the bullying, the negative, etc., etc., and just as you would be thinking, I need out of this relationship, then being nice and the kindness start. Is that the yo-yo thing that you're talking about? Is
yes,
that it?
yes. That was definitely a part of it. Whenever you got to the point where you realize, okay, this is toxic and I just need to break away from it, he would then come back and he would try to be nice. But after I walked off, I started looking through the messages and I realized in one paragraph he would say, oh, sorry, I really love you, I really want you to come back, but you're very evil. I can't believe you think you could stop talking to me.
Wow. That's interesting. And we want to welcome Susan and Zamal and Tania and Caroline Marsh that is here, and from England, and Marilyn and Jermaine and all the people that are watching. Welcome to Chayil Conversation. And this is an exciting night because, you know, the Bible says, when you call upon me, I will deliver you and you will honor me. And so the yo-yo situation was going on, and it went to a point now. You said you feel stupid. You said you couldn't say a sentence. You couldn't, like, what was that? What?
So he always told me that I came from a very sheltered background and I didn't understand the real world. So that's how this started off. And then after that, whenever I said something, he would always tell me, oh, you're too childish, or that doesn't make sense, or that's not how it works, that's not how life is. So he would keep picking at all my sentences. And then it got to the point, I just can't ask questions because everything about you is just pre-contemplated. There's a reason you're asking me this. So because of that, I was just afraid, like, I don't want to talk, I don't want to think, you don't want to do nothing. You just want to make sure that this person is happy and just go with that flow, you know, like a little puppy dog. Okay, yes, you're doing good now, keep going.
Yes, and then the manipulation too, where happy, you have to do whatever it takes, but then you also said you felt you could not please him. So,
yes.
so you explain that to me, because you have to try to keep him happy. You do things even to the point of undermining yourself to keep him happy, but then you couldn't please him anyway. So
that's right.
You know, what is that? What is that mindset? Because, you know, there are people watching this and wanting to know about the hope, and is saying, oh, I can relate to that. Some of the people watching, you can say, I have a daughter that I can relate to that, or I have a son that can relate to that. Because the son, you could have a son in an abusive relationship with gangs,
yes.
you know, where they control you and you have to do things for them, and, you know, they praise you, but then they bully you and fight you to keep you in control. So your passion in life and your ambition in life was to please him.
Yes.
And you tried hard to please him. So
hard.
What are some of the ways that you had to please him? To go the extra mile?
He would get up and say things like, okay, let's go here for the weekend. And when I say here, I mean that he'd want you to travel. And he would want me to get up and go to Jamaica for events. And for me, work came first, and I had a son to think about. So to me, that's just too much. I'm not going to ask for 2 days off from work because I would need a Friday and the Monday, you know, to go to Jamaica for a party. Like, that was my life back then. And I would turn those things down, and then it would be, oh, you don't love me. Who wouldn't want a free trip? Who wouldn't want this? And it's like, no, I have a son to think about. He's in daycare. I don't want to have time off from work to go here. You know, I want to use it for an emergency. The weekend, I want to clean, prepare for the new work and school week, things like that. So those are the ways, to me, it seems like he would push you the extra mile. And it would always be last minute. And that's just not,
because last the controlling, you know, do as I say and please me. So let me ask you now. It came to a point now where it came where something really hit you, and it moved from just trying to please you, where you felt shame, and that is, you said, is when you realized that he all the time was being unfaithful to you.
Yes.
What happened there? How did you discover that? What was the scenario that brought that reality to you?
So his lifestyle, he was a gangster. He was doing illegal activities, and at one time he got arrested.
So can you imagine now a girl who is sheltered in a wealthy family, growing up with a mom who is very powerful and have factories, etc. So grandparents was with her as well, and she ended up with a gangster. Did he have a degree?
Nothing
Like that. So she is the one that had a degree. She is the one that had the ability to go to school. She is the one that have a bachelor's in psychology. Not bachelor's in agriculture, but bachelor's in psychology. And yet, with all the psychology degree, he was able to manipulate and control you. And so
Yes.
here it was, he was involved in gangs and drugs, etc. But you were hooked on him. Was that kind of an addiction that you say? How would you call it?
I would say it's an addiction, because each time you try to leave, you feel a withdrawal. It felt like you were on drugs and you had these withdrawal symptoms, and you don't remember what you were doing with your life before you met them, because everything is so toxic and so obsessive. Like when you're in this relationship, it's just about them. You're cut off from your friends. You're not talking to them as much. You're not talking to your family as much either. All communication, everything going internal is just from this one person.
Wow.
So when you stop, it's just, what do I do with myself now?
Yeah, and I guess it's like drugs, because when you stop the drugs, even though you know that it's destroying you, but what am I going to do with myself? I can't do without the drugs anymore.
Yes.
So you talk about isolation, Samantha.
Yes.
And I know a lot of times when you're going to be in a controlling relationship that is going to be destructive, one of the first things they do is to isolate you.
Yes.
Because the obsessive control is that you must not have any friends, you must not have family.
That's right.
It is just me. That means you're going to be listening to one voice only.
Yes.
I am going to speak into you, and you're going to become what I want you to become.
Yes.
So it's almost like he's programming you, programming your mind to own you. So how did he cut off your friends? You had friends. Like how did that happen? It was a fallout, or you just stopped calling, or what?
I think part of it is, you know when something is wrong. So you don't want to open up your life to people you know truly love you. So that was the first part. And then if I did go out with my friends and he called, I would pick up. And it would be a big problem. Why are you out with them? Only childish people go out with friends. And he would call you out for things like that. And it makes me question myself, okay, he's very serious. Like, those are the things I tell myself. He's very focused. And if he has a problem with what you're doing, then maybe there's something wrong with what you're doing.
Talk about playing with her mind. Yeah. So he's serious, not successful, but he's serious. And he's powerful because of the lifestyle, not because he has power, that is real power. And so because of that, you're thinking he must be right.
He must be right. There's something wrong with me. I'm very childish. Why am I out with my girlfriends?
Okay. And then that went on and on until at some point, what triggered you for change?
So it's after years of being in this relationship.
How long was that relationship?
I would say from like 2014, the end of 2014, that's when the relationship started getting serious. It was someone I always knew, and he always tried to force himself in my life, but that's when the relationship started getting serious. Sorry, what was it?
So how long did it last?
Yeah, so it was since then, and what happened was, you picture yourself being in this relationship, you're not able to be yourself, you can't do you or what comes naturally to you, and you, at the end of it, you feel like you're at a different level with this person, and then you have an argument with them, and you just realize that it's not about you. It doesn't matter what you say or what you do, this person will continue picking at you, he will continue bullying you and belittling you, and this won't ever change. So it doesn't matter how hard I work to please him, it doesn't matter how much of myself I give and how many things I put off and how much time I waste, to just give him what he wants, he will always look at me that way.
So at some point you realize this is never going to change,
Yes.
and you make a decision, I have to change me.
I have to just quit.
And so tell me more about the time when in all of that you found out too that there was unfaithfulness as well in the relationship.
Yes. Well, when I found out about the other woman, it was something that he just brushed it off like it was nothing. Hey, I'm Jamaican.
So did you see it at a party? How did that happen? You saw her? Or?
I ended up seeing her. She had to come to our family's house. It's when he got arrested, and she had to come there because he knew my family that in Canada, and he needed something there, and she's the one they sent to the house. And I overheard the conversation, and that's when I started asking more questions, and I realized who she was. And then when I started asking him about it, it was just like, oh, you see how mature she is? She actually came and she visited me, and she did this for me, and she took time off from work to do this for me while I was inside, and she took care of this. So then you started, like, you know it's wrong, but now you feel irreplaceable too. And now you think, okay, there's someone else there who can just take your spot like that. So you start working even harder.
Oh, wow. Because now you have to fight to keep him.
Yes.
And so did he manipulate? Did he use that also to manipulate you?
Yes.
To make you want him and to make you win his affection, whatever, because I don't know what there is to win, but to make you try to win his love and his faithfulness.
Yes.
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 So he created a competitive thing going there.
Yes,
right?
and he made you know there was a threat. There was someone else there. She can step in just like that, and she does a way better job. She's very mature. She doesn't keep friends.
Oh, wow.
She doesn't keep friends, and I can ask her, you know, when I need help or when I'm going through something, here she is. Like, she just jumps in. Whereas with you, because with me, even with everything going on, I was still able to maintain a level head at work.
Yes,
So,
and you had a good job.
Yes.
Yes, and so that was the grace of God there, because you were able to do a great job. And so at that point now you know there's another woman. So how did you come off of this roller coaster? And we thank you. We want to welcome Lisa Campbell from St. Lucia, Edna, Jacqueline, and Dawn Copeland, and all those that are joining us in this interesting conversation. So at what point with this woman in his life now, not only is he treating you bad, but now he has another woman. Mm-hmm. So how did you get triggered to do something? Were you afraid of him?
So he has a lot of street cred or respect in the streets. So when I just started being with him, I understood how other people treated him. So it just came naturally for me to show him respect too, because hey, this is whoever, and this is how he is treated, and I just started treating him the same way too. So that's how the control started. Yeah.
So were you afraid of him? Or?
I was, yes, because I always felt like I was walking on eggshells in that relationship.
So was there anger?
Yes, there was lots of anger.
Okay, so you were controlled by anger.
I was controlled by anger. Yes.
Wow. So as a psychologist, like tell me something. But tell me about the turning point in your life now, when somehow you're in this relationship, you can't get out of it. What pushed you, and what triggered you?
So during that time, I started going to church. And
who invited you? Somebody invited you to church?
Someone invited me to church, actually. She just asked me to take her to church. It was an older lady. She asked me to take her to the church. And I ended up coming inside. And ever since that moment, that was it. I just couldn't go back without going to church.
Wow. And then by going to church, how did that change your relationship and your life? And what help did you get, or what changed your thinking, or what happened?
It changed me a lot. So a lot of different aspects of the church. Just going to the church on Sunday, and I would hear you speak, and you would speak about all these powerful people in the Bible, and you constantly remind us this is not a fairy tale, it is real. Moses was a murderer, Rahab did this, and you kept drilling it in our heads, and God was able to use them in the end. So I started feeling, okay, there is hope. Yes, I messed up, but look, my life can be like this. And then I started going for counseling as well, because I needed to know God even more. I needed more help with everything I was going through. And I remember the pastor, he would start telling me things about my identity. You are a child of God. You are wonderfully made. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Royal blood flows through your veins. And I started feeling that way. And I started thinking, hey, I'm royal. I started looking up to the royals, actually, starting to change the way I dressed. I started changing the way I think about things. And once you had a conference, actually, and one of the pastors, they did an altar call. He prayed for me. And when he touched me, he prophesied, and he said that my wisdom would supersede my beauty, and I just ran with that because
wow,
I just
your wisdom would supersede your beauty. And you're talking about a very beautiful young lady, and so you ran with that and said that. You know, the Bible says when you believe the word of the prophet, you will become it.
Yes.
So your life started to change.
Yes.
You know, and you became strong. Mm-hmm. So how did you resist this man in your life?
So I had to take, so aside from going to church, I also had to take practical steps outside. So I had to delete the numbers, block, and then he would keep getting new numbers and calling me, and then I would have to change my number. And then when it continues, this is funny, but I would take screenshot of messages he would send me in the past, belittling me and bullying me. And I would go back to those messages and I would reread them. If I ever had a moment of weakness, I would just remind myself, he said this to you. He did this to you. This happened. So even if he's trying to say sorry to you now, this is just a cycle. This continues. If you take him back weeks from now, you're going to see these messages back on your phone.
So you were talking to yourself. Your psychology kicked in eventually, talking to yourself so that you can be free. Yes. And today you are free.
Yes.
And so what is the new life? Tell us about the new life now of Samantha. Where are you at now?
New life. Very ambitious, very motivated.
So you're brilliant now? You see yourself brilliant?
I'm working on getting there, but yes, a lot better since then.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're working on
getting my life together once more. So I'm starting a new business. I also want to start a new job, like I was telling you, the courthouse. I see myself in 10 years from now. I want to be a judge. And I was looking up how to get there. And
of course we have judges and lawyers to help you on that journey, which is so good. Yes. And so now you're married.
And now I'm married and in a beautiful relationship. And yes, you do have arguments, but you'll see the difference about what is normal.
Yes, what is a normal marriage?
What is a normal marriage?
And what is a dysfunctional relationship? Because in normal marriage, you do have arguments and you do have disagreements.
Yes.
But it's different, it's not toxic, right?
It's not toxic, and there's a solution in the end. You work on things.
Wow.
And you can see you have reasonable grounds for the other person to be upset. It's not something that just happens out of nowhere.
Yes, it's reasonable.
It's reasonable.
And it's reasonable for you to be upset.
Yes.
So now you're normal in a normal marriage.
Yes.
Wow. With God, all things are possible. And when we think of Samantha, we think of how God's plan for her is now becoming reality. You know, God says in Jeremiah 29:11, my plans and for you is to prosper you, which means to protect you and lead you in a path where you can become who you're supposed to be and your whole purpose. Yeah. My plan is that you not be harmed. So my plan is to protect you. So it comes with a protection package.
Yes.
And then he says his plan is to give you hope. So God brought you in a community where you could get hope, and you hear that your wisdom is going to supersede your beauty, and all of this that you're hearing, it gave you hope. And then it says, my plan is to give you a bright future. And now with God's help, you're creating that bright future.
Yes.
If you are listening there, I want you to know that God is greater. She is now ignited. The glory in her is awakened. And brilliance is now coming, where now she's not stupid. She can create a sentence, and she even wants to get into becoming a judge. And I tell you, whatever you want to do, you can do. because now your brain is renewed, your mind is renewed, and now God is going to lead you into the plans He has for you. And that plans is your prosperity and your success. Wow, what a story of sharing how a fatal relationship can literally destroy your personality. It can make you think less of yourself. It can make you believe a lie, and it can become a stronghold. But God is greater. And now, Samantha, you're seeing where greater is He that is in you than He who was with you. Yes. And because God is with her, she is safe. Because God is with her, she is secure. And because she called unto God, He led her to the church where she would meet the right people, and now she is creating her new life. People, with God, all things are possible. So whatever your story is, you have your own story, but the God of Samantha is waiting to be your God. I want you to like, subscribe. I want you to share this message. Get your friends to watch it. If you know young adults that are going through this kind of situation and it is scary to get out of it, let them know that God can get you out of any prison, because it is a prison. You know, the Bible talks about stronghold, things that will hold your mind. And before you know it, Samantha, with her degrees and her postgraduate study, couldn't even finish a sentence, because that sentence will be undermined and make her think she's nothing but God. Her brilliance is ignited. She knows she's beautiful, because you do know you're beautiful, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now you do. Now you do. And you can see how, the Bible says the devil is a liar. Because looking at Samantha, she's so beautiful, and yet she was beginning to think she's ugly because somebody say that to you. And so, people of God, God has made you in His image. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And with God, all things are possible, and He will lead you into the path where His plan is to prosper you, protect you, to give you hope and a bright future. So like, share, subscribe, spread the story, and let's take over the airways with good news and Chayil conversation for the glory of God. Samantha, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And this is so exciting. And remember to join us next week for another Chayil conversation. God bless you.